I first met Isabella, my future wife, when I was 24, not 20 as some might assume. After finishing my studies, I took a job as a legal assistant at a construction site, while Tina, now my wife, worked as a nurse in a nearby hospital. We crossed paths through some mutual friends. After a whirlwind romance, we were married just 6 months later. We moved in with my mom into her modest 3-bedroom apartment. And a year after that, we welcomed our son Tony. 2 years later, our daughter Harper arrived. Those were unforgettable times, wild and tough. Jobs were hard to find, and we scraped by with odd jobs whenever we could. Tina's nurse's salary barely covered our basic needs, but we made it work. Then one day, an old classmate got in touch with a job offer. He was running a construction business building wooden baths, saunas and bows, and there was plenty of work to go around. The pay was good, and things started to look up. As the new millennium arrived, my classmate offered to sell me the business. Without a second thought, I seized the opportunity. That decision marked the real turning point in our lives. Isabella chose to leave her nursing career, went back to school, and became a cosmetologist. I bought her a room, and she opened a small beauty salon there. The kids grew up fast. Both graduated from university. Tony went on to study at an institute, and eventually found a job abroad. Harper graduated with a degree in foreign languages, and married a man who, by the way, now works for me. They're doing well, and even gave us a beloved grandson and granddaughter. Everything is great on their end. My son-in-law is a respectable, well-mannered guy, and I'm now seriously considering passing the business on to him, so I can finally relax and enjoy life. To be honest, I'm worn out after all these years of hard work. My dream is simple: to live in a country house, grow my own vegetables, and spend time with my grandkids. But here's the catch. Isabella and I have completely different ideas of what a peaceful, comfortable retirement should look like. Don't get me wrong, I'm 54 now, and the constant hustle is just too much for me. But for Isabella, her 50s seem to be the most exciting time of her life. She's completely reinvented herself. I've already gone through all the beauty treatments, and honestly, my face barely looks like mine anymore. But let's not get the wrong idea. I'm not some grumpy old man. I try to stay fit, take care of myself, and believe in moderation in all things. Isabella, however, seems determined to turn back the clock. She told me she wanted to do everything she couldn't afford in her younger years. She asked me not to worry about grandkids or country life. I respect her desire, of course, and want her to be happy. The only thing I convinced her to do was renovate the country house. She agreed and soon after hired a designer. She showed me the plans, and the workers began major renovations. 3 months later, my accountant handed me a hefty bill for my signature. I was shocked. It turned out that Isabella had instructed the designer to bill me for his services under the contract I had signed. I signed it, but I couldn't hold back. I had to call her up. Isabella, don't you think this designer's bill is a bit excessive, considering the work that's been done? Or did you somehow find the most expensive designer in town? I asked, more bluntly than I intended. The repairs weren't finished yet, and there would still be more to pay. And anyway, he's the best, she snapped back. Her tone stung a little. Designer, she emphasized, almost daring me to argue. I didn't like what he did at all, and I already told you about it. Paying for the whole crew turned out to be cheaper. Honestly, it felt like we were paying him for his looks, not his work. If you don't like it, you should have handled it yourself, she fired back, her words cold and sharp before hanging up. Lately, our relationship felt strained, like we were living in two completely different worlds. She was always busy with something, constantly studying and preoccupied. Meanwhile, I was left with the kids, working hard, and trying to keep everything together. As a family, we decided that me, our daughter, and son-in-law would spend the summer in the country. I wanted to install a security system to keep my loved ones fully protected. I found a company, and in a few days, everything was up and running. Now I could check the cameras whenever I wanted, making sure everything was in order. Curious, I decided to test it. One day, I logged in from my work computer and started watching the footage. What I saw made me freeze. There was Isabella, my rejuvenated wife, acting as though she was deeply in love. No, she spent a lot of time with our designer, a young and talented man we hired for the renovations. They reviewed new repairs several times a week, always laughing and talking excitedly. Isabella knew the value of the work done, but luckily, she didn't realize I was watching them. That's when the truth hit me. My wife was playing a dangerous game. The designer, barely in his 30s, was half her age. It was absurd. My jaw tightened. This was too much. The conversation with Isabella afterward was brief, too brief. I simply wished her the best in whatever form her new life took. She denied it at first, of course, but when I showed her the footage from the cameras, she had no choice but to confess. We love each other, she said quietly, almost with shame. This is the love of my life. I stared at her, a sinking feeling settling in my stomach. I thought to myself, maybe the saying should be, women are fools. Not because they're truly foolish, but because they're women. It felt like I was watching the inevitable unfold right in front of me. I moved to the country shortly after, still working on my business, but with plans to eventually hand it over to my son-in-law. I taught him everything I knew, and he was a natural. I trusted him completely. Meanwhile, Isabella's designer was living it up at her expense, enjoying the high life and taking full advantage of her generosity. He loved strolling around with young, beautiful girls, all while pretending to be in love with my wife. I couldn't help but wonder when Isabella would finally open her eyes to what was really going on. A month ago, my daughter broke the news to me. Dad, she said, he left Mom. He found a more profitable option. Turns out he was now involved with the daughter of a local politician. And surprise, she was pregnant with his child. My daughter told me that Isabella had been crying, regretting everything, and wanted to come back. But her pride and shame kept her from doing so. Honestly, I didn't care. As for me, I'm still living outside the city, working at my own pace. I gradually transferred my business to my son-in-law, who's more than capable of running it. And you know what? I stopped worrying about all of it. The kids might not get along with their mom, but that's their problem, not mine.